They see an old woman living alone in a big house. They think easy target. I'm Helen, 76 years old, widow, my house is paid off. Has been for 20 years, it's a beautiful 4-bedroom. Victorian in a neighborhood that got gentrified while I wasn't paying attention. The property taxes are brutal now, but I manage. I've always managed. The man from American Heritage Lending knocked on my door on a Tuesday afternoon. Suit and tie, clipboard, professional smile. He said he was here to help seniors in the neighborhood. Said he had a special program, a reverse mortgage that would give me cash while I stayed in my home. I told him I wasn't interested. I don't like debt. Never have. He kept talking. Said it wasn't really debt. Said it was accessing my home's equity. Said I'd worked hard for this house and deserved to enjoy the money now. I told him again. Not interested. But he was persistent. Left his card. Said to call if I changed my mind. Said the offer wouldn't last long. 2 weeks later, he was back. This time with different paperwork. Said the program had changed. Said it was even better now. Said I qualified for $150,000. I'll be honest. That number got my attention. $150,000 could fix the roof, replace the ancient furnace, finally renovate the bathrooms. I took the paperwork. Said I'd think about it. Big mistake. Over the next month, he called me twice a week. Friendly at first, then urgent. Said the program was closing. Said interest rates were going up. Said I was running out of time. Classic pressure tactics. I know that now. I caved, signed the papers. He witnessed it. Everything seemed official. 3 weeks later, I got a letter from the bank. Foreclosure notice. Apparently, I'd missed mortgage payments. Payments I didn't know I owed. Payments that weren't explained in any paperwork I'd seen. I called the bank. They said I'd taken a reverse mortgage with a balloon payment. Said the first payment was due 60 days after signing. Said I owed $12,000. $12,000 I didn't have. I explained there must be a mistake. I never agreed to any payments. The salesman said reverse mortgages meant no payments. The bank didn't care. They had my signature. They had the contract. They were foreclosing. I couldn't eat for 3 days. Couldn't sleep. This house, my home for 40 years, where I raised my children, where my husband died, where every memory lives, gone. Because I trusted a man in a suit. My neighbor found me crying on my porch, asked what was wrong. I showed her the foreclosure notice. She said something that changed everything. She said, "Helen, you need to fight this. You have resources." I didn't understand. What resources? I'm a widow on Social Security. She said, "Your husband's trust fund." Remembered. And that's when I realized I'd completely forgotten. My husband worked in tech, sold his company in 1998 for $42 million, put $40 million in a trust for our family. I'd been living on Social Security by choice, staying humble, staying grounded, not touching the trust, unless necessary. I'd forgotten I was wealthy. Grandma always said, the best defense is surprise. They wanted my house. Let's see them try. I called the trust attorney, explained the situation, told him about the foreclosure. He was quiet for a long time. Then he laughed. He said, "Helen, you could buy this bank 20 times over. Let me make some calls." Turns out, American Heritage Lending was a predatory lender. They targeted elderly homeowners in gentrified neighborhoods, tricked them into terrible reverse mortgages, foreclosed fast, sold the properties for massive profits. They'd done it to 17 people in my neighborhood alone. But they'd never targeted someone with $40 million in liquid assets. My attorney hired a forensic accountant. We pulled American Heritage Lending's financial records. Public company. All the data was there. The bank was worth about $60 million. Profitable but struggling. Stock price stagnant. We started buying shares quietly through shell companies. Over 6 weeks, we accumulated 18% ownership. Then we went to 25%. Then 33%. The CEO noticed. Started asking questions. Who was buying up the stock? My attorney called him. Said we wanted a meeting. Said we represented a concerned investor. The CEO agreed. Probably thought he could sweet-talk us. Convince us to sell. We scheduled the meeting for the same day as my foreclosure hearing. I'll never forget walking into that courtroom. The bank's lawyer was already there, smug, confident, ready to take my house. The judge asked if I had representation. I said yes. My attorney stood up. The bank's lawyer recognized him immediately. Corporate law legend. Retired but still licensed. His face went pale. My attorney filed 3 motions. First, evidence of fraudulent lending practices. Second, request for emergency audit of the bank. Third, proof of majority shareholder voting rights. The bank's lawyer said, "What majority shareholder?" My attorney smiled. Said, "As of 9 a.m. this morning, my client owns 51% of American Heritage Lending. I bought the bank, controlling interest." Right before the foreclosure hearing, the judge looked at me. This old woman in a cardigan said, "Ma'am, is this true?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor. I just bought the bank that's trying to foreclose on me. I'd like to withdraw the foreclosure action." The courtroom went silent. The bank's lawyer tried to object, said it was improper, said there were protocols. My attorney asked which protocol prevents a majority shareholder from directing company litigation. There isn't one. The judge dismissed the foreclosure with prejudice. That was just the beginning. I called an emergency board meeting. As majority shareholder, I had the right. 7 board members showed up, all men, all looking at me like I was confused. I wasn't confused. I fired the CEO first, right there in the meeting. The bylaws allowed it with majority shareholder approval. I approved. Security escorted him out. He was screaming about severance packages. My attorney informed him his contract had a clause about fraudulent activities. He'd get nothing. Then I fired the entire predatory lending division. 32 people, all involved in targeting seniors. The remaining board members sat there frozen. I said, "Anyone else want to question my decisions?" No one did. I appointed a new CEO, a woman who'd worked in consumer protection for 20 years, gave her one directive: find every victim of our predatory lending. Make it right. She found 43 victims in our service area alone, 17 in my neighborhood, 26 in other communities. We forgave every fraudulent loan, returned every house, paid moving costs for people who'd already been foreclosed on. Total cost, $8 million. I didn't care. It was the right thing to do. Then I sued the former CEO personally. Fraudulent lending is a crime. He'd known what he was doing, had internal emails proving it. He settled, paid for $1 million, went to prison for 3 years. The salesman who came to my door, fired, charged with elder abuse, lost his license. He called me once, begging, said he had a family, said he was just doing his job. I said, "Your job was stealing houses from grandmothers. Find a better job." I hung up. American Heritage Lending still exists, but it's different now. We offer legitimate reverse mortgages, fair terms, full disclosure. We educate seniors instead of exploiting them. Our profits dropped 40% the first year. I didn't care. The second year, something interesting happened. Our reputation improved. People trusted us. Business came back. We're profitable again. Not as profitable as before, but profitable enough. And every executive bonus now includes a requirement. Volunteer 20 hours a year teaching. Financial literacy to seniors. The former CEO's office? I turned it into a community resource center. Free legal advice for seniors. Free financial counseling. Free housing advocacy. We've helped 200 people in 3 years. My house, still mine. I fixed the roof. Replaced the furnace. Renovated the bathrooms. Cost me $90,000, paid cash. I thought about moving. The property taxes really are brutal. But I'm staying. This is my home. My husband's memory lives here. My children grew up here. No predatory lender is taking that from me. I told my neighbor about all of it. She laughed so hard she cried. She said, "Helen, you bought an entire bank to cancel your own foreclosure. That's the most extra thing I've ever heard." I said, "I prefer thorough." My kids found out eventually. They were horrified I'd almost lost the house. Wanted to know why I didn't tell them. I said I handled it. They said I should have asked for help. I said I did. I helped myself. They don't quite understand. They grew up with money, trust funds, safety nets. I grew up poor, worked for everything, never forgot where I came from. That's why I live modestly. That's why I use the trust fund sparingly. But that's also why, when someone tried to steal from me, I had resources they never imagined. The salesman thought he saw a vulnerable widow. He saw an easy mark. He didn't see a woman with $40 million and a very good lawyer. His mistake, not mine. People ask me sometimes what it felt like, buying the bank, firing the CEO, getting revenge. I tell them it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like justice. There's a difference. Revenge is personal, emotional, satisfying in the moment but hollow after. Justice is structural. It fixes the problem. It helps other people. I didn't buy that bank to hurt the CEO. I bought it to stop them from hurting anyone else. 43 families. That's how many people they were in the process of foreclosing on when I took over. 43 families who would have lost their homes, their memories, their stability. I saved those homes. That feels better than any revenge ever could. The former CEO tried to sue me. Said I'd destroyed his career. Said my actions were retaliatory. The judge threw it out. Said maybe he should have thought about his career before committing fraud. He's out of prison now. Works at a car wash. Divorced. His kids don't talk to him. I saw him once. At the grocery store. He saw me and literally ran the other direction. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just nothing. He's not worth my emotional energy. The trust fund is back to its regular use now, funding my grandchildren's education, supporting local charities, growing quietly. I withdrew $8 million to fix the bank's damage. It earned that back in investment returns within 2 years. Money is weird like that. The more you have, the easier it is to make more. That's why predatory lenders target people who have a little. People with equity but no cash. People who are vulnerable. They didn't expect someone with both. My attorney asked me why I didn't tell the salesman about the trust fund. Why I let him think I was. I said, "Would you show your cards before the game is over?" He laughed. Said I'd make a good lawyer. I said I'd made a good victim instead. And that was enough. The house feels different now. Lighter somehow. I used to walk through these rooms and feel my husband's absence. The empty chair, the silent workshop. Now I walk through and feel his presence. His protection. The life he built for us that saved me when I needed it most. He'd be proud, I think. Not of the money. He never cared about that. But of standing up to bullies. Of protecting other people. Of using our resources for good. That's who he was. That's who he taught me to be. I'm 76 years old. I own a house worth $1.2 million in a gentrified neighborhood. I have a trust fund worth $40 million. I control a $60 million bank. And I still clip coupons, still shop sales, still turn off lights when I leave a room. My kids think I'm ridiculous, but I don't care. I know what it's like to have nothing. I never want to forget. That salesman saw an old woman clipping coupons and thought he could steal from her. He found out that Grandma doesn't spend money frivolously. She saves it for when she needs to buy a bank. The foreclosure notice is framed in my office now, right next to the stock certificate showing my ownership of American Heritage Lending. A reminder, never underestimate an old woman in a cardigan. She might be sitting on $40 million and a very good attorney. And if you try to steal her house, she buy your company and fire you herself. I sleep well at night, in my house, with my memories, surrounded by everything I love. The man who tried to take it from me sleeps in a studio apartment with a broken air conditioner. I didn't do that to him. He did that to himself. I just made sure he couldn't do it to anyone else. Grandma always said, live modestly, save aggressively, and when someone underestimates you, show them exactly who you are. I showed them, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.